Hello everyone! So as some of you remember, hopefully, we started with the prologue last week. And today we are gonna start with the actual book. So it's chapter 1. But first, hello Kens, welcome in. Hi Penguin! Nice to see you could make it. I knew you had a bit of a travel to do before you could be here. I appreciate that. Yeah, here I am. So yeah, last week's reading is also on YouTube. Is this better, Shika? Oh, nice, Penguin. Nice. Yeah, I have, I think, 3 or 4 places. And now we just wait for the ad break to end so that people can hear me again. And we should be back. Nice. But yeah, I have a couple of places where I can adjust the sound, so it's kind of nice. Yeah, it's always strange to hear people you have talked with a long time for the first time. But I really appreciate you guys being here. It's really nice. But as I was saying, you can also go to my YouTube channel to if you aren't in the stream. You can always go to my YouTube channel and see last week's video. So there is a playlist. I'm gonna make a playlist for every book I read or every series. So here with the Lord of the Rings we have 3 books. Yeah, you know me, Sika. I always joke. But yeah, if you ever miss a stream, you can always go back and see or listen to the video I have uploaded to YouTube. And I'm trying to get that done as fast as possible. I have chocolate fingers. Good morning, Earthling. Nice to see you. Yeah, it's gonna be all you see here will be on the on the YouTube video as well. So I'm kinda lazy. So I'm just taking the video and uploading it. And except last time I couldn't because Twitch muted 40% of my stream because of the music. So that was nice. Or something. Yeah, Penguin, you are gonna be on YouTube. Yoo-hoo! Oh, hi Fred. It's very nice to see you here. You are awake. But yeah, when we have finished all the books of this series, everything is on YouTube, so you can actually listen to the playlist, and then you can hear all the books throughout the series. Well, I'm trying to start, but so many lovely people comes in, so that's nice. But yeah, I don't know how many chapters we are doing today. It kind of depends on the time. So I try to do 2 hours a day or time. So here you guys can see the Shire. Yeah, exactly, Ökling. So as I said, it says book 1. Yeah, it's legal to read them out, as long as I'm not just showing you what's happening. So yeah, I'm gonna start with the first chapter, and then we will see when we get to a break, and then we'll look at chat if something's not happening meanwhile. By the way, is the music okay compared to my voice, or is it really low? Nice. Thank you. Hi Trout. You just catch me before I started. Chapter 1. A long-expected party. When Mr. Bilbo Baggins of Baggend announced that he would shortly be celebrating his 11th birthday with a party of special magnificence, there was much talk and excitement in Hobbiton. Bilbo was very rich and very peculiar, and had been the wonder of the Shire for 60 years. Ever since his remarkable disappearance and unexpected return, the riches he had brought back from his travels had now become a local legend, and it was popularly believed, whatever the old folk might say, that the hill at Baggend was full of tunnels stuffed with treasure. And if that was not enough for fame, there was also his prolonged vigor to marvel at. Time wore on, but it seemed to have little effect on Mr. Baggins. At 90 he was much the same as at 50. At 99 they began to call him well preserved, but unchanged would have been nearer the mark. There were some that shook their heads and thought this was too much of a good thing. It seemed unfair that anyone should possess apparently perpetual youth and as well reputedly inexhaustible wealth. It will have to be paid for, they said. Oh my god, I almost shot myself there. Come on everyone, participate in a drop. Just type drop in the chat. It will have to be paid for, they said. It isn't natural, and trouble will come of it. But so far, trouble had not come. And as Mr. Baggins was generous with his money, most people were willing to forgive him his oddities and his good fortune. He remained on visiting terms with his relatives, except, of course, the Sackville Bagginses, and he had many devoted admirers among the hobbits of poor and unimportant families. But he had no close friends until some of his younger cousins began to grow up. Oh, nice! You both hit. Oh, hi Jesse. Welcome in. I just started, so you haven't missed much. The eldest of these, and Bilbo's favorite, was young Frodo Baggins. When Bilbo was 99, he adopted Frodo as his heir, and brought him to live at Baggins. And the hopes of the Sackville Bagginsons were finally dashed. Bilbo and Frodo happened to have the same birthday, September 22nd. You had better come and live here, Frodo my lad, said Bilbo one day, and then we can celebrate our birthday parties comfortably together. Yeah, that's fine. At that time, Frodo was still in his tweens, as the hobbits called the irresponsible 20s between childhood and coming of the age of 33. Hi Tammy, nice to see you here. "12 more years passed, and each the Bagginses had given very lively combined birthday parties at Baggins. But now it was understood that something quite exceptional was being planned for that autumn. Bilbo was going to be 101 years old, a rather curious number, and a very respectable age for a hobbit. The old Took himself had only reached 130, and Frodo was going to be 33. An important number, the date of his coming of age. I'm okay, Tommy. I just look forward to being here with all of you and reading this out for you. Yeah, it is. Tongues began to wag in Hobbiton and Bywater, and rumor of the coming event traveled all over the Shire. The history and character of Mr. Bilbo Baggins became once again the chief topic of conversation, and the older folk suddenly found their reminiscences in welcome demand. No one had a more attentive audience than old Ham Gamgee, commonly known as the Gaffer. He held forth at the Ivy Bush, a small inn on the Bywater Row, and he spoke with some authority, for he had tended the garden at Backend for 40 years, and had helped old Maholman in the same job before that. Now that he was himself growing old and stiff in the joints, the job was mainly carried out by his youngest son, Sam Gamgee. Both father and son were on very friendly terms with Bilbo and Frodo. They lived on the hill itself, in number 3 Backshot Row, just below Backend. Yeah, I thought this would be some very nice music to relax to while I read for all of you. A very nice, well-spoken, gentle hobbit is Mr. Bilbo, as I've always said, the Gaffer declared. With perfect truth, for Bilbo was very polite to him, calling him Master Hamfast, and consulting him constantly upon the growing of vegetables in the matter of roots, especially potatoes. The Gaffer was recognized as the leading authority by all the neighborhood, including himself. But what about this Frodo that lives with him? Asked Old Noakes of Bywater. Baggins is his name, but he's more than a half a brandybuck, they say. It beats me why any Baggins of Hobbiton should go looking for a wife away there in Buckland, where folks are so queer. And no wonder they're queer, put in Daddy Twofoot, the Gaffer's next door neighbor. If they live on the wrong side of the Brandywine River, and right again the old forest, that's a dark, bad place. It half the tales are true. You're right, Dad, said the Gaffer. Not that the Brandybucks of Buckland live in the old forest, but they are a queer breed, seemingly. They fool about with boats on that big river, and that isn't natural. Small wonder that trouble came of it, I say. But be that as it may, Mr. Frodo is as nice a young hobbit as you could wish to meet. Very much like Mr. Bilbo, and in more than looks. After all, his father was a Baggins. A decent, respectable hobbit was Mr. Drogo Baggins. There was never much to tell of him, till he was drowned. Drowned, said several voices. They had heard this and other darker rumors before, of course, but hobbits have a passion for family history. And they were ready to hear it again. Well, so they say, said the Gaffer. You see, Mr. Drogo, he married poor Miss Primula Brandybuck. She was our Mr. Bilbo's first cousin on the mother's side, her mother being the youngest of the old Took's daughters, and Mr. Drogo was his second cousin. So Mr. Frodo in his first and second cousin, once removed either way, as the saying is, if you follow me. And Mr. Drogo was staying at Brandy Hall with his father-in-law, old Master Gorbadoc, as he often did after his marriage, him being partial to his victuals, and old Gorbadoc keeping a mighty generous table. And he went out boating on the Brandywine River, and he and his wife were drowned. The poor Mr. Frodo, only a child and all. I've heard they went underwater after dinner in the moonlight, said old Noakes, and it was Drogo's weight that sunk the boat. And I heard she pushed him in, and pulled her in after him, said Sandyman, the Hobbiton miller. You shouldn't listen to all you hear, Sandyman, said the gaffer, who did not much like the miller. There isn't no call to go talking and pushing and pulling. Boats are quite tricky enough for those that sit still without looking further for the cause of trouble. Anyway, there was this Mr. Frodo left an orphan and stranded, as you might say, among these queer Bucklanders, being brought up anyhow in Brandy Hall. A regular warrant by all accounts. Old Master Gorbadoc never had fewer than a couple of hundred relations in the place. Mr. Bilbo never did a kinder deed than when he brought the lad back to live among decent people. And now we're gonna take a little break so I can get some water and hydrate and stretch a little bit. Thank you, Sika. Oh. But I reckon it was a nasty knock for those Sackville Bagginters. They thought they were going to get Baggint that time when he went off and was thought to be dead. And then he comes back and orders them off. And he goes on living and living. And never looking a day older, bless him. And suddenly he produces an heir. And has all the papers made out proper. The Sackville Bagginters won't never see the inside of Baggint now. Or it is to be hoped not. There's a tidy bit of money tucked away up there, I hear tell, said a stranger. A visitor on business from Mitchell delving in the western farthing. All the top of your hill is full of tunnels packed with chests of gold and silver and jewels by what I heard. Then you have more than I can speak to, answered the gaffer. I know nothing about duels. Mr. Bilbo is free with his money, and there seems no lack of it. But I know of no tunnel making. I saw Mr. Bilbo when he came back a matter of 60 years ago when I was a lad. I'd not luck come prentice to old Holman, him being my dad's cousin. But he had me up at back end, helping him to keep folks from trampling and trespassing all over the garden while the sale was on. And in the middle of all of it, Mr. Bilbo comes up the hill with a pony and two mighty big bags and a couple of chests. I don't doubt they were mostly full of treasure he had picked up in foreign parts. Where there's be mountains of gold, they say. But there wasn't enough to fill tunnels. But my lad Sam will know more about that. He's in and out of back end. Crazy about stories of the old days, he is. And he listens to all Mr. Bilbo's tales. Mr. Bilbo has learned him his letters, meaning no harm, mark you, and I hope no harm will come of it either. Elves and dragons, I say to him, cabbages and potatoes are better for me and you. Don't go getting mixed up in the business of your betters, or you will land in trouble too big for you. I say to him, and I might say it to others, he added with a look at the stranger and the miller. But the gaffer did not convince his audience. The legend of Bilbo's wealth was now too firmly fixed in the minds of the younger generations of hobbits. Ah, but he has likely enough been adding to what he brought at first, argued the miller, voicing common opinion. He's often away from home, and look at the outlandish folk that visit him. Dwarfs coming at night, and that old wandering conjurer Gandalf and all. You can say what you like, Gaffer, but Baggin's a queer place, and its folk are queerer. And you can say what you like about what you know, no more of than you do of boating, Mr. Sandyman, retorted the Gaffer, disliking the miller even more than usual. If that's being queer, then we do not with a bit more queerness in these parts. There's some not far away that wouldn't offer a pint of beer to a friend if they lived in a hole with golden walls. But they do things proper back end. Our Sam says that everyone's going to be invited to the party, and there's going to be presents, mark you, presents for all, this very month as is. That very month was September. And as fine as you could ask, a day or two later, a rumor probably started by the knowledgeable Sam was spread about there was going to be fireworks. Fireworks, what is more, such as had not been seen in the Shire for nigh on a century. Not indeed since the old Took died. Days passed, and the day drew near. An odd-looking wagon laden with an odd-looking packages rolled into the Hobbiton one evening and toiled up the hill to Backen. The startled hobbits peered out of lamplets doors to gape at it. It was rimmed by outlandish folk, singing strange songs, dwarfs with long beards and deep hoods. A few of them remained at Bagend. At the end of the second week in September, a cart came in through Bywater from the direction of Brandywine Bridge in broad daylight. An old man was driving it all alone. He wore a tall, pointed blue hat, a long grey cloak, and a silver scarf. He had a long white beard and bushy eyebrows that stuck out beyond the brim of his hat. Small hobbit children ran after the cart, all through Hobbiton and right up to the hill. It had a cargo of fireworks, as they rightly guessed. At Bilbo's front door, the old man began to unload. There were great bundles of fireworks, and all sorts of shapes, each labeled with a large G and the Elf rune. And it's those two runes. If you can see them properly. That was Gandalf's mark, of course, and the old man was Gandalf the wizard, whose fame in the Shire was due mainly to his skill with fires, smokes, and lights. His real business was far more difficult and dangerous, but the Shire folk knew nothing about it. To them, he was just one of the attractions at the party. Hence the excitement of the hobbit children. G for Grant, they shouted, and the old man smiled. They knew him by sight, though he only appeared in Hobbiton occasionally, and never stood nor stopped long. But neither they nor any but the oldest of their elders had seen one of his fireworks displays. They now belonged to a legendary past. When the old man, helped by Bilbo and some dwarfs, had finished unloading, Bilbo gave a few pennies away, but not a single squib or cracker was forthcoming, to the disappointment of the onlookers. "We'll run away now," said Gandalf. "You'll be plenty when time comes." Then he disappeared inside with Bilbo, and the door was shut. The young hobbits stared at the door in vain for a while, and then made off, feeling that the day of the party would never come. Inside Bagend, Bilbo and Gandalf were sitting at the open window of a small room looking out west to the garden. The late afternoon was bright and peaceful. The flowers glowed red and golden, snapdragons and sunflowers, and nasturtiums trailing all over the turf walls and peeping in at the round window. Hi, Petra. "How bright your garden looks," said Gandalf. "Yes," said Bilbo, "I'm very fond indeed of it, and of all the dear old Shire. But I think I need a holiday." "You mean to go on with your plan then?" "I do. I made up my mind months ago, and I haven't changed it." "Very well. It is no good saying any more. Stick to your plan, your whole plan, mind. And I hope it will turn out for the best, for you and for all of us. I hope so. Anyway, I mean to enjoy myself on Thursday and have my little joke. Who will laugh, I wonder, said Gandalf, shaking his head. We shall see, said Bilbo. The next day more carts roll up the hill, and still more carts. There might have been some grumbling about dealing locally, but that very week orders began to pour out of Backend for every kind of provision, commodity, or luxury that could be obtained in Hobbiton or Bywater or anywhere in the neighborhood. People became enthusiastic, and they began to tick off the days on the calendar. And they watched eagerly for the postman, hoping for invitations. Before long, the invitations began pouring out, and the Hobbiton post office was blocked, and the Bywater post office was snowed under, and voluntary assistant postmen were called for. There was a constant stream of them going up the hill, carrying hundreds of polite variations on "thank you, I shall certainly come." A notice appeared on the gate of Backend. No admittance except on party business. Even those who had or pretended to have party business were seldom allowed inside. Bilbo was busy writing invitations, ticking off answers, packing up presents, and making some private preparations of his own. From the time of Gandalf's arrival, he remained hidden from view. One morning the hobbits woke up to find the large field south of Bilbo's front door covered with ropes and poles for tents and pavilions. A special entrance was cut into the bank leading to the row, and wide steps and large white gate were built there. The 3 hobbit families at Backshot Row, adjoining the field, were intensely interested and generally envied. Old Gaffer Gamgee stopped even pretending to work in his garden. The tents began to go up. There was a especially large pavilion so big that the tree that grew in the field was right inside of it, and stood proudly near one end. At the head of the chief table, lanterns were hung on all its branches. More promising still to the hobbit's mind, an enormous open-air kitchen was erected in the north corner of the field. A drought of cooks from every inn and eating house for miles around, a right to supplement the dwarves and other odd folk that were quartered at Backend. Excitement rose to its height. Then the weather clouded over. That was on Wednesday, the eve of the party. Anxiety was intense. Then Thursday, September the 22nd, actually dawned. The sun got up, the clouds vanished, flags were unfurled, and the fun began. Bilbo Baggins called it a party, but it was really a variety of entertainments rolled into one. Practically everybody living near was invited. A very few were overlooked by accident. But as it turned up, all the same, that did not matter. Many people from other parts of the Shire were also asked, and there were even a few from outside the borders. Bilbo met the guests and additions at the new White Gate in person. He gave away presents to all, and sundry. The latter were those who went out again by a back way and came in again by the gate. Hobbits give presents to other people on their own birthday. Not very expensive ones as a rule, and not so lavishly as on his occasion. But it was not a bad system. Actually, in Hobbiton and Bywater, every day in the year was somebody's birthday, so that every hobbit in those parts had a fair chance of at least one present at least once a week, but it never got tired of them. Hi, Sika. Mm. So, Sika, at 1 hour and 50 minutes, can you remind me of the time? Thank you. On this occasion, the presents were unusually good. The Hobbit children were so excited that for a while they almost forgot about eating. There were toys, the like of which they had never seen before, all beautiful and some obviously magical. Many of them had indeed been ordered a year before, and had come all the way from the mountain and from Dale, and were of real dwarf make. When every guest had been welcomed and was finally inside the gate, there were songs, dances, music, games, and of course food and drink. There were 3 official meals: lunch, tea, and dinner or supper. But lunch and tea were marked chiefly by the fact that at those times all the guests were sitting down and eating together. At other times there were merely lots of people eating and drinking continuously from 11 to 6:30 when the fireworks started. The fireworks were by Gandalf. They were not only brought by him, but designed and made by him. And the special effects, set pieces, and flights of rockets were let off by him. But there was also a generous distribution of scripts, crackers, backrabbers, sparklers, torches, dwarf candles, elf fountains, goblin barkers, and thunderclaps. Remember gloves, everything. It helps. They were all superb. The art of Gandalf improved with age. There were rockets like a flight of scintillating birds singing with sweet voices. There were green trees with trunks of dark smoke. The leaves opened like a whole spring unfolding in a moment, and the shining branches dropped glowing flowers down upon the astonished hobbits, disappearing with a sweet scent just before they touched their upturned noses. There were fountains of butterflies that flew glittering into the trees. There were pillars of colored fires that rose and turned into eagles, or sailing ships, or phalanx of flying swans. There was a red thunderstorm and a shower of yellow rain. There was a forest of silver spears that sprang suddenly into the air with a yell like an embattled army. and came down again into the water with a hiss like 100 hot snakes. And and there was also one last surprise in order of Bilbo, and it startled the hobbits exceedingly at Gandalf intended. The lights went out. A great smoke went up. It shaped itself like a mountain seen in the distance, and began to glow at the summit. It spouted green and scarlet flames. Out flew a red golden dragon, not life-size, but terribly lifelike. Fire came from his jaws, his eyes glared down. There was a roar, and he whisked 3 times over the heads of the crowd. They all ducked, and many fell flat on their faces. The dragon passed like express train, turned a somersault, and burned over by water with a deafening explosion. I'm stiff-tired. Well, you missed an hour of stream, but you only missed like 40 minutes of reading. 50 Danish kroner. That's almost 100 Swedish. Hello, LOTR. It's nice to see you. So as I said earlier, this video will also come up on YouTube, just like the other. No, I can see it wasn't Earthling. I can see it wasn't. But yeah, right now we're just taking a little break because of all the new peeps coming in and of Earthling redeeming stretch. So everyone remember to stretch and not just sit and hang. It's good for your body to stretch sometimes. Yeah, more like 80. Oh, you guys have actually improved your currency, so it's actually almost 75. Interesting. So it's not as bad as it was just a couple of months ago. That's very good to hear. Yes, Earthling. What is your question? Or Denmark, we're getting a king. King Frederick the 10th. Seriously, that group parachute always fucking make me shit. It always make me shit my pants. It's fucking insane. So last time, all all the peeps which joined in at the drop actually landed. So we will see how many will land this time. Yeah, we know you're sussy, Earthling. We know. That was a nice one, Rothriel. Very nice one. Oh, I've thought about another word. Never mind. It really is, Mr. Thard. It really is. Oh, we don't talk about that here. Oh, can't you also redeem the stretch? Ugh. Yeah, we are bringing together all of the nice peeps here today. Very nice peeps. I was almost sure that it was called that. But some sucker haven't put it in. There we go. So now we just take a little bit of another song, just to switch it up a little. Oh, we have already read like how many pages? Oh, we are already at our 10th page. So that's quite nice. And now the dwarves are coming. And then we got a little dancing. So that was nice. Just a little song from the prequel of The Lord of the Rings, which we at some point will also read. Hi, Kate. It have been going much up and down, but it's getting much better. Much better. Should I make a dance theme and then make that the song for the dances? I really love seeing Bonbons dance in my chat. It's very nice. I need a couple of animated Bonbon dance. But now we had a little break, and I think we should go back to reading what we are reading today, which is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. That is the signal for supper, said Bilbo. The pain and the alarm vanished at once, and the prostrate hobbits leaped to their feet. There were a splendid supper for everyone. For everyone, that is, except those invited to the special family dinner party. This was held in the great pavilion with the tree. The invitations were limited to 12 dozen, a number also called by the goblins of the hobbits one gross. Though the word was not considered proper to use of people, and the guests were selected from all the families to which Bilbo and Frodo were related, with the addition of a few special unrelated friends, such as Gandalf. Many young hobbits were included, and present by parental permission, for hobbits were easygoing with their children in the matter of sitting up late, especially when there was a chance of getting them a free meal. Bringing up young hobbits took a lot of provender. Thanks, Siga, but it's a 150, not 115. 50. 50. It's fine, Sika. It's very fine. There were many Bagginses and Buffins, and also many Tooks and Brandybucks. There were various Grubs, relation of Bilbo Baggins's grandmother, and various Chops, connections of his Took grandfather, and a selection of Borrowses, of Bulgars, Bracegirdles, Brockhouses, Goodbuddies, Hornblowers, and Proudfoots. No, it's fine. Really, it's fine. Some of these were only very distant connected with Bilbo, and some had hardly ever been in Hobbiton before, as they lived in remote corners of the Shire. The Sackville Bagginses were not forgotten, although and his wife Lobelia were present. They disliked Bilbo and detested Frodo, but so magnificent was the invitation card, written in gold ink, that they had felt it was impossible to refuse. That's kind of fun. I think that is really fun, Earthling. I think I would have died laughing if that happened here. Click, 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 click. Ah, fuck. Oh. That's kind of funny. Well, humans are bound to fuck up at some point. So no worries. At most, I will just laugh at it. Oh, then I have something you should see. 2 seconds and I will be right back. And now I'm back. So, Sika, you would like this. That is the Scoville units. Yeah, when I drink water. So at some point, at one point, I tried to make fried chili, or no, fried chicken, and then I put just a knife tip of that into the batter, and we almost couldn't eat it because it was so spicy. It was fucking insane. Yeah, some of the people were like, they just took white bread and just stuffed their mouth with it, and then breathed through their nose until it was gone. It was kind of funny. Oh, hi, Combat. It's very nice to see you here. Okay, so back to the book. I have thought about buying a more hefty one. I think it's 1.27 million. Yeah. I know a person from the Philippines. She have like small peppers like this size, and she eats them raw. But you need to um to be a regular eater of very spicy food to be able to eat those. We don't have any peppers in Denmark, which is near those. Yeah, they are. Because it's more concentrated. I think last time she told me it was at 870,000 Scoville. Yeah, chili is just like scorpions, I think. Okay, I'm gonna start again, and then we will see if some more amazing peeps come in. Yeah, I can't do more than that. I can't even do jalapenos at the moment. Because they're too spicy. Because I haven't eaten chili in a very long time. Because I had a girlfriend which was allergic to chili. So that kind of sucked pretty hard. That reminds me, at some point I might do a cooking stream doing chili con carne. Or maybe chili con chicken. Besides, their cousin Bilbo had been specializing in food for many years, and his table had a high reputation. All the 144 guests expected a pleasant feast, though they rather dreaded the after dinner speech of their host, an inevitable item. He was liable to drag in bits of what he called poetry, and sometimes after a glass or two would allude to the absurd adventures of his mysterious journey. Fucking hell. Yeah, you can keep that for yourself, Lathriel. The guests were not disappointed. They had a very pleasant feast. In fact, an engrossing entertainment. Rich, abundant. Oh, it was nice seeing you as well, Comet. If you want to, I put all of them up at my YouTube channel, so you can all see. See det if you miss it. So thank you for being here, and hope to see you next Sunday. The purchase of provisions fell almost to nothing throughout the district in the ensuing weeks, but as Bildo's catering had depleted the stocks of most of the stores, cellars, and warehouses for miles around, that did not matter much. After the feast, more or less came to the speech. Most of the company were, however, now in a tolerant mood, and that delightful stage which they called the filling up the corners. They were sipping their favorite drinks and nibbling their favorite dainties, and their fears were forgotten. They were prepared to listen to anything and to cheer at every full stop. My dear people, began Bilbo, rising in his place. Hear, 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 they shouted, and kept on repeating it in chorus, seemingly reluctant to follow their own advice. Bilbo left his place and went and stood on a chair under the illuminated tree. The light of the lanterns fell on his beaming face. The golden buttons shone on his embroidered silk waistcoat. They could all see him standing, waving one hand in the air. The other one was in his trouser pocket. My dear Bagginses and Buffins, he began again, and my dear Tooks and Brandybucks, and Grubs and Chops, and Boruses and Hallblowers, and Bulgers, Bicegirdles, Goodbodies, Brockhouses, and Proudfoots. Proudfeet, shouted an elderly hobbit from the back of the pavilion. His name, of course, was Proudfoot, and well merited. His feet were large, exceptionally furry, and both were on the table. Proudfoot, repeated Bilbo. Also my good Sackville Bagginses, that are welcomed back to at last to Backend. Today is my 111th birthday. I am 11-1 today. Hooray, hooray, many happy returns, they shouted, and they hammered joyously on the tables. Bilbo's were doing splendidly. This was the sort of stuff they liked, short and obvious. I hope you are all enjoying yourself as much as I am. Deafening cheers, cries of yes and no, noises of trumpets and horns, pipes and flutes, and other musical instruments. There were, as has been said, many young hobbits present. Hundreds of musical crackers had been pulled. Most of them bore the mark Dale on them, which did not convey much to most of the hobbits, but they all agreed they were marvelous crackers. They contained instruments, small, but of perfect make and enchanting tones. Indeed, in one corner, some of the young tooks and brandybucks, supposing Uncle Bilbo had to have finished, since he had plainly said all that was necessary, now got up an impromptu orchestra and began a merry dance tune. Master Everard took and Miss Melliot Brandybuck got on the table, and with bills in their hands began to dance the sprinkle ring. A pretty dance, but rather vigorous. But Bilbo had not finished. Seizing a horn from a youngster nearby, he blew 3 loud hoots. The noise subsided. "I shall not keep you long," he cried. Cheers from all the assembly. "I have called you all together for a purpose." Something in the way he said this made an impression. There was almost silence, and 1 or 2 of the tooks pricked up their ears. Indeed, for 3 purposes. First of all, to tell you that I am immensely fond of you all, and that 11 years is too short of a time to live among such excellent and admirable hobbits. Tremendous outburst of approval. I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. This was unexpected and rather difficult. There was some scattered clapping, but most of them were trying to work out and see if it came to a compliment. Secondly, to celebrate my birthday. Cheers again. I should say our birthday. For it is, of course, also the birthday of my heir and nephew Frodo. He comes of age and into his inheritance today. Some perfunctory clapping by the elders, and some loud shouts of "Frodo, Frodo, jolly old Frodo" from the juniors. The Sackville Baggins scowled and wondered what was meant by coming into his inheritance. Together we score 144. Your numbers were chosen to fit this remarkable total. 1 gross. If I may use this expression, no cheers. This was ridiculous. Many of the guests, and especially the Sackville Bagginses, were insulted, feeling sure they had only been asked to fill the required number. Like goods in a package. 1 gross, indeed. Vulgar expression. It is also, if I may be allowed to refer to ancient history, the anniversary of my arrival by barrel at Esgaroth on the Long Lake. Though the fact that it was my birthday slipped my memory on that occasion. I was only 51 then, and birthdays did not seem so important. The banquet was very splendid, however, though I had a bad cold at the time. I remember and could only say, "Thank you very much." I now repeat it more correctly. Thank you very much for coming to my little party. Obstinate silence. They all feared that a song or some poetry was now imminent, and they were all getting bored. Why couldn't he stop talking and let them ding his health? But Bilbo did not sing or recite. He paused for a minute. Thirdly and finally he said, "I wish to make an announcement." He spoke this last word so loudly and suddenly that everyone sat up who still could. I regret to announce that, though, as I said, 11 years is far too short of a time to spend among you. This is the end. I am going. I am leaving. Now. Goodbye. Oh, Earthling, he is from the States. As far as I can remember, he's not far from Trout, actually. Mm. Yeah, sorry, my hand just began to hurt. I have an injury in my hand, so it's kind of fucked up. Yeah, everything is from the north, not from the like mid, south, or east, and especially not the southeast. He stepped down and vanished. There was a blinding flash of light, and the guests all blinked. When they opened their eyes, Bilbo was nowhere to be seen. 144 flabbergasted hobbits sat back speechless. Old Odo Proudfoot removed his feet from the table and stamped. Then there was dead silence, until suddenly, after several deep breaths, every Baggins boffin took Brandybuck, Grub, Chop, Boros, Balger, Bracegirdle, Brockhouse, Goodbody, Hornblower, and Proudfoot began to talk at once. It was generally agreed that the joke was in very bad taste, and more food and drink were needed to cure the guest of shock and annoyance. "He's mad. I always said so," was probably the most popular comment. uh, for fuck's sake, Sika. Carrying on my jokes from earlier. Oh, I like that. Even the Tooks, with few exceptions, thought Bilbo's behavior was absurd. Thank you, Mr. Hart. That is also true, Earthling. Yeah, I made a joke earlier in another streamer stream. In It Takes Two, there's a point where you get to a bee where it begins to bump the whole place, and I kind of said that it looked like Berlin in 1940. So yeah. It was kind of fun. Me and Sika had a great laugh. No, Berlin was that wasn't even touched until 1940, as far as I remember, because they couldn't get through the Luftwaffe. For the moment, most of them took it for granted that his disappearance was nothing more than a ridiculous prank. But old Rory Brandybuck was not so sure. Neither age nor an enormous dinner had clouded his wits. He said to his daughter-in-law Esmeralda, "There's something fishy in this, my dear. I believe that Mac Baggins is off again. Silly old fool. But why worry? He hasn't taken the victuals with him." He called loudly to Frodo to send the wine around again. Frodo was the only one present who had said nothing. For some time he had sat silently beside Bilbo's empty chair and ignored all remarks and questions. He had enjoyed the joke, of course, even though he had been in the know. He had difficulty in keeping from laughter at the indignant surprise of the guests. But at the same time, he felt deeply troubled. He realized suddenly that he loved the old hobbit dearly. Most of the guests went on eating and drinking and discussing Bilbo Baggins' oddities, past and present. But the Sackville Bagginses had already been departed in wrath. Frodo did not want to have any more to do with the party. He gave orders for the more wine to be served. Then he got up and drained his own glass silently to the health of Bilbo, and slipped out the pavilion. As for Bilbo Baggins, even while he was making his speech, he had been fingering the golden ring in his pocket. His magic ring that he had kept secret for so many years. As he stepped down, he slipped it on his finger, and he was never seen by any hobbit in Hobbiton again. He walked briskly back to his hole, and stood for a moment listening with a smile to the din in the pavilion, and to the sounds of merrymaking in other parts of the field. Then he went in. He took off his party clothes, folded up and wrapped in tissue paper his embroidered silk waistcoat, and put it away. Then he put on quickly some old untidy garments, and fastened around his waist a worn leather belt. On it he hung a short sword in a battered black leather scabbard. From a locked drawer, smelling the mothballs, he took out an old cloak and hood. They had been locked up as if they were very precious. But they were so patched and weather-stained that their original color could hardly be guessed. It might have been dark green. They were rather too large for him. He then went into his study and from a large strong box took out a bundle wrapped in old clothes and a leather-bound manuscript and also a large bulky envelope. The book and bundle he stuffed into the top of a heavy bag that was standing there, already nearly full. In the envelope he slipped his gold ring and his fine chain, and then sealed it and addressed it to Frodo. At first he put it on the mantelpiece, but suddenly he removed it and stuck it in his own pocket. At that moment the door opened and Gandalf came quickly in. "Hello," said Bilbo. "I wondered if you would turn up." "I'm glad to find you visible," replied the wizard, sitting down in a chair. "I wanted to catch you and have a few final words." "I suppose you feel that everything has gone off splendidly and according to plan." "Yes, I do," said Bilbo. "Though that flash was surprising, it quite startled me, let alone the others. A little addition of your own, I suppose?" It was. You have wisely kept our ring secret all these years, and it seemed to me necessary to give your guest something else that would seem to explain your sudden vanishment. And will spoil my joke? You're an interfering old busybody, laughed Bilbo. "But I expect you know best, as usual." "I do, when I know anything. But I don't feel too sure about this whole affair. It has now come to the final point. You have had your joke, and alarmed or offended most of your relations, and given the whole Shire something to talk about for 9 days, or 99 more likely. Are you going any further?" "Yes, I am. I feel I need a holiday. A very long holiday, as I've told you. Probably a permanent holiday. I don't expect I shall return. In fact, I don't mean to, and I have made all arrangements." "I am old, Gandalf. I don't look it, but I am beginning to feel in my heart of hearts, well preserved indeed," he snorted. "Why, I feel all thin, sort of stretch, if you know what I mean. Like butter that was being scraped over too much bread. That can't be right. I need a change or something." Gandalf looked curiously and close to him. "No, it doesn't seem right," he said thoughtfully. "No, after all, I believe your plan is probably the best. Well, I've made up my mind, anyways." "I wanted to see mountains again, Gandalf. Mountains. And then find somewhere I can rest." Thank you, Sika. So let's see how long the chapter is. Yeah, we're not gonna finish this. We're not gonna finish this chapter, but I need to find a place where we can kind of finish off. In peace and quiet, without a lot of relatives prying around, and a string of confounded visitors hanging on the bell, I might find somewhere where I can finish my book. I have thought of a nice ending for it, and he lived happily ever after to the end of his days. Gandalf laughed. I hope he will. But nobody will read the book, however it ends. I should have about no stream delay. In 10 seconds we are at 151. So there might be a couple of seconds though, but not much. But yes, let's see where we can go and annoy some people. Also, Earthling and Sika, at some point I would like some ideas for a raid message. Yeah, for when we raid people. Of course. I think we will go here. You too, you too, Miss Deathheart. And I should have the video up before Tuesday. I'm gonna try to see if I can put it up today. But we will see. So yeah, we are gonna raid a person called Jeannie Draws. She makes some pretty art, I at least think. So yeah. A little over the top, Earthling. Like a more stream fitting raid message. So yeah, we will go there now, and I hope you will all join me in going there. So again, I will upload this video to YouTube so you can rewatch it if you want to, or else I will see you at Sunday next week at 7 p.m. CET or 7 p.m. GMT +1. So have a lovely week and see you next week.